Erica, welcome back to Maniacal Reader. Today I'm going to be doing my September wrap-up. I read 11 books this month, which is a record for me. I know in my September TBR I said I would go later on the TBR, but that didn't happen. I had an awesome reading month and I enjoyed every book that I read. So let's get started. The first book I read was Uninvited by Sophie Jordan. This is the first book in a YA sci-fi dystopian duology. It follows this girl named Davy Hamilton, who finds out she has HTS, or homicidal tendency syndrome. In other words, she has the kill gene. In this society, once people find out that they have the kill gene, it's predicted that they will kill someone. Once you find out that you have the kill gene, you're isolated from society. All the people that you know, including your family and friends, socially alienate you. That's exactly what happens to Davy Hamilton. When she finds out she has HTS, the life that she's envisioned for herself comes crashing down, and she's shipped off to this special school for other HTS students. When she gets to this new school, she finds out that she doesn't like it there, except for a boy named Sean. Sean may be the only person she can trust. The plot moves on from there. On top of all of this, the government wants to rid society of all HTS carriers. So the government has set up detention camps for HTS people around the world. I liked the plot in this book and the characters. I especially liked the ending of the book, which was action-packed and surprising. The next book I read was Unleashed. This is the sequel to Uninvited. Since this is a sequel, I won't spoil you, but I love the romance that Davy has with someone in this book, and the unexpected plot twists regarding her relationship and the main plot in general. I didn't expect the twist that was coming in this book, so I was pleasantly surprised. I ended up giving this book 5 out of 5 stars. It was one of those blow-your-mind kind of romances, and I really enjoyed it. I had no choice but to wait for The Destiny of Violet and Luke to show up at my house. I ended up picking up Unraveling by Elizabeth Norris. This is a YA sci-fi book, and this was one of my September TBR jar picks. This book follows a girl named Janelle Tenner. When Janelle Tenner is walking around in her neighborhood one evening, she's accidentally run over by a pickup truck, and she dies. Luckily, a classmate named Ben Michaels mysteriously brings her back to life. Janelle is also the daughter of an FBI agent, and one evening when she's looking through her dad's old case files, she noticed that there's timestamps on different photographs and documents. She comes to realize that these timestamps are actually a countdown to the end of the world, which she has to stop. This book was more action-packed than any other book I've read in a long, long time. Not only does Janelle Tenner have to save the world, but her classmate Ben Michaels, whom she never talks to, brings her back to life. She gets to know him and gets to know some strange things about him as well. It's best to go into his book blind, so I won't go into any of these details, but what I can tell you is not only is this book action-packed with a captivating plot, but there's also a romance. This book also focuses on family relationships, which I really enjoyed. Not a lot of sci-fi books focus on family relationships and family connections. After reading Unraveling by Elizabeth Norris and giving that 5 out of 5 stars, I was like, I need the next book now. So of course I picked up Unbreakable. This was an awesome conclusion to the duology, and again, really amazing. I think this is my favorite book out of the two, and I also gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. This next book, called The Destiny of Violet and Luke, is the third book in a new adult romance series by Jessica Swarenson. This book finally came to my house earlier this month, so I finally got to read it. What happened is I ordered this book from Amazon, but then the carrier lost it. So Amazon had to order a replacement for me, but for some reason this book took forever to get to my house. I'm glad it finally did though. This book follows the romance of Violet and Luke. Luke is the best friend of Caden Owens, who is another character from previously in the series. We don't know much about Luke other than he doesn't really have a good relationship with his mom because his mom is crazy and he doesn't really like her that much. We know even less about Violet before reading this third book, but we do know that she is Callie's college roommate. Callie is a character that we met from the previous 2 books in the series, and Callie and Caden are in a relationship. These 2 characters know of each other because they have a college class together, but they don't really know each other. Luke comes into contact with Violet one night when she jumps out of a window and accidentally kicks Luke in the face. We learn that Violet doesn't have a family. Her parents were murdered when she was a little girl, and all her life she's grown in and out of foster homes, and they haven't been a pleasant experience for her. And we also learn that Luke doesn't like his mom because when Luke was little, Luke's mom made him shoot her up with drugs for her drug addiction because she didn't like the pain of needles, and she also made him do other weird stuff, like have him hold her while she passed out after her taking the drugs. From the previous books in the series, we also know that Luke had an older sister that committed suicide years ago. These 2 characters have had a rough life, but they come together by chance when they realize that they have more in common than they think. Overall, I would say that these characters have been closed off to nearly everyone in their lives, so they find it really hard to start a relationship, but I would say that Luke is more open to the idea than Violet is. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. It was a really nice introduction into their relationship. The next book I read was The Probability of Violating Luke. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. After reading this book, I came to see that Luke and Violet are my favorite couple in this series, even though I did enjoy Callie and Caden's story from the first 2 books in the series. I just find that Luke and Violet are more damaged and they have a tougher relationship than Callie and Caden do, so I think that's why I liked their romance more. There's more emotional crisis and more emotional depth to their relationship, in my opinion. Next up, I have The Certainty of Violet and Luke. This is the 5th book in the series, and this is the book that concludes Violet's and Luke's romance. I really enjoyed all the obstacles that Luke and Violet overcame in their relationship. It gives these 2 characters a happy ending. I loved the conclusion to their story. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. Next up, I have Zeth and Grayson. This is the 7th and final book in Jessica Swarenson's Coincidence series. This book follows Callie's best friend Zeth and his romance with a guy named Grayson. I always liked Zeth in this series. He's so supportive of Callie and how far she's come given what happened to her in her past. I have always liked Grayson, but in the other books in the series, the reader doesn't get to learn much about him, but we get to know a little bit more about him in this final book. I loved their romance in this book. It was really sweet. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. The only reason why I didn't give it 5 stars is because I left the book wanting more from this couple and wanting to know more of their story, but unfortunately, this is the last book in the series. The second last book I read this month was Divergent by Veronica Roth. This is the first book in a YA sci-fi dystopian trilogy. Nearly anyone has heard of this book and knows what it's about. This is one of the books that's on my reading list goals for 2016, so that's why I wanted to pick it up this month. Since there's so much discussion and controversy around this trilogy, I decided that this month was finally the time to get to it. The action and plot were incredible in this book. This book follows a girl named Beatrice, who is in the faction Abnegation. And in the society, everyone is sorted into factions. But when people turn 16, they're involved in what's called a choosing ceremony, and a choosing ceremony allows them to choose which faction they want to remain in during their adult lives. I won't go into too much detail about this book, but I enjoyed all of the characters and the plot was just amazing. I'll have a full book talk on this book coming soon in the next couple of weeks. And the final book I read this month was The Goal by Elle Kennedy. This is the final book in her new adult romance series called the Off-Campus series. Throughout this series, each book follows one guy and his love interest. All of these guys are roommates, and they attend Briar University, which is like a great university for academics, but also football and hockey. All of these roommates are hockey players. And this fourth and final book follows a guy named Tuck and his romance with a girl named Sabrina. Tuck grew up in Texas, so he's like a southern gentleman. But we met Sabrina in previous books in the series. Sabrina kind of has a reputation of being a snobby and a rude girl. Sabrina has one goal in life, which is to get perfect grades and top test scores so she can get into Harvard Law School. Sabrina doesn't really come from a good family. Her mom abandoned her when she was young, and she lives with her grandmother, who did raise her and does love her up to a certain point. But her grandmother often criticizes her and the way she does things. She also lives with her stepfather named Ray, who is like a loser. He doesn't think much of Sabrina and he always drinks all the time. She also lives in like a rundown, poor part of town, so she doesn't really come from a good life. Which is one of the main reasons why she's so dead set on attending law school, because she wants to leave her past behind and leave her current circumstances behind. Sabrina has always had high achievements, and she doesn't want anything to get in her way. That is until she meets Tuck. She has feelings for him, but she's determined to just hook up with him and not have a relationship with him. That all changes when something dramatic happens in their relationship. Sabrina discovers that she's pregnant. Tuck will do anything he can to support Sabrina, but he never imagined becoming a father at age 22. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I really did enjoy their romance. It was sweet, and I was curious to see how Tuck and Sabrina would handle the challenge of the pregnancy. Despite me liking Sabrina and Tuck's romance, I did find that Tuck was a little too perfect for me. He didn't really have any flaws, and he was always just easily adapting to circumstances. Nothing in life really shook him, so I found that a little hard to believe. This was offset by Sabrina's character and where he comes from and how her life is. That's why I think these two characters really got along together and ended up really loving each other. Those are all of the books that I read in September. Sorry if this wrap-up was so long. I read 11 books this month, which is crazy. I've never done that before. The most I've read in a month is up to 9 books, never 11. Let me know down in the comments how your reading month was. Was it an awesome reading month for you, or did you have a bad reading month? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!